The diner smelled of butter and burnt coffee, the kind that clung to a person's clothes long after they stepped back into the real world. It was nearly closing time, and only a few customers remained scattered across the scarred booths. A flickering neon sign buzzed against the window, painting the linoleum floor in trembling pink light. Emily wiped her hands on her apron and forced a smile at the couple leaving their half-eaten burgers behind. She'd long grown used to the dull ache in her cheeks from pretending everything was fine. She gathered the plates, but her eyes lingered on the abandoned fries. Her stomach tightened, not from hunger, but from the thought of her daughter at home waiting. 7-year-old Lily would be curled up on the old couch, probably pretending she wasn't hungry, probably acting brave like she always did. "I'm not that hungry, Mommy," she would say every single time, even though her small arms were getting thinner, her school uniform a little looser each week. Emily swallowed hard. She hated this feeling, this desperation that crept into her bones like winter frost. Tonight, like last night, and the night before that, there wouldn't be enough money for groceries after rent swallowed everything. Tips had been slow. People were impatient. People didn't look at her face anymore, just at their own plates or their phones. As she cleared the last table, she hesitated. The leftovers were still warm. She glanced over her shoulder at her manager, Carl, a man with a permanent frown etched deep into his forehead. He didn't tolerate stealing, even if it was garbage-bound food. Once he fired a busboy for taking a half-eaten muffin from the trash. "Company property," he'd said smugly. But tonight, something in her broke. Maybe it was the memory of Lily fainting last week during recess, or the school nurse's soft, pitying tone when she called. Maybe it was the emptiness of her wallet. Maybe it was simply motherhood. Taking a deep breath, Emily approached the counter where Carl was counting the register. Carl?" Her voice trembled despite her effort to steady it. He didn't look up. "What? I was wondering if I could take the leftovers from table 6. They're just going to be thrown out. My daughter, she hasn't eaten much today." Now he looked up. His expression had that familiar mix of annoyance and superiority. "No," Emily blinked. "They're going to the trash anyway. It won't cost the diner anything." "That's not the point." He snapped the register shut harder than necessary. "It's policy. No food leaves the building unless it's paid for. You want it? Buy it." "I don't have enough money. Not my problem." Her face heated, but she kept her eyes down. "Please, it's for my daughter. Then maybe you should work harder instead of begging for scraps," he muttered. The words hit her like a slap. She swallowed the sting and turned away, hoping the customers hadn't heard. She froze. Someone had heard. In the corner booth, a group of leather-clad bikers, all broad shoulders, beards, and black jackets, sat watching the exchange. Their motorcycles were lined up outside like metal beasts. They'd come in an hour earlier, filling the diner with deep laughter and the scent of gasoline and cold night air. One of them sat apart from the rest, tall, with a thick beard and eyes that missed nothing. He'd been quiet the whole evening. He lifted his gaze now, slow and deliberate, meeting Emily's. She felt exposed, embarrassed, and small. The quiet biker leaned forward, jaw tightening. But he didn't say anything. Not yet. Carl grumbled as he walked into the kitchen, leaving her trembling. Emily returned to the table, trying to scrape the fries onto the plate without looking like she wanted to cry. But she swiped her forearm across her eyes anyway. Behind her, a chair scraped loudly. The quiet biker stood. The other customers glanced up, sensing something shift in the air. He walked toward her with the heavy, measured steps of a man who was used to being feared. His presence filled the diner, drawing every gaze like gravity itself. Emily straightened, clutching the plate, unsure if she'd done something wrong. His voice was low, rough, yet not unkind. "You asked for the leftovers for your daughter." Emily nodded, mortified. He looked at the half-eaten burger on the plate. "That's not enough food for a child." I know," she whispered. His eyes softened. "What's her name?" "Lily." He exhaled slowly, something shifting behind his stern exterior. "I had a kid sister once," he murmured. "Skinny as a twig because Mom worked double shifts and barely ate herself." His gaze flicked toward the kitchen door where Carl had disappeared. People like him think dignity is a luxury. Emily blinked back fresh tears. The biker returned to his booth. Everyone watched in silence except his biker friends, who simply nodded at him. He sat. Then he raised his hand. "Ma'am," he called out to her, I'd like to order something. She forced a smile and grabbed her notepad. Of course. What can I get for you? He didn't look at the menu. Everything. Emily blinked. Everything? Everything you'd want a hungry kid to have. The diner went silent again. But this time, it wasn't from pity. It was from respect. Orders flew into the kitchen faster than Carl could grumble. The quiet biker, whose name she would later learn was Mason, ordered pancakes, chicken tenders, mac and cheese, soup, grilled cheese, mashed potatoes, 2 slices of pie, and a take-home container of fruit salad. But what stunned Emily wasn't the amount of food. It was that every dish was placed into to-go containers. Carl stormed out of the kitchen. What is all of this? Why is everything boxed? Mason shrugged. I'm taking it to go. Carl raised a brow. You're going to eat all that? No. Mason leaned forward slowly, voice deepening. It's for her daughter. Carl's face reddened instantly. She can't take food from here without paying. I am paying. Mason lifted the check. Every cent, Carl sputtered. Well, she still isn't allowed to. Mason stood up again. The diner fell silent. The air became thick and still. He wasn't threatening. He didn't have to be. It was the way he stood, the kind of presence that made grown men think twice. Let me make sure I heard you right, Mason said quietly. You're saying that after I bought all this food, this mother still can't take it home to feed her kid? It's policy, Carl insisted, louder than necessary, trying to mask the quiver in his voice. Mason tilted his head. Funny. Your menu says customer satisfaction guaranteed, but here you are denying a customer food she paid for. I didn't deny anything. She didn't pay. She works here, Mason cut in, served us without complaint, cleaned tables, and you humiliated her for asking for trash-bound leftovers. Carl's jaw dropped. Emily wanted to sink into the floor. Another biker, a woman named Red, crossed her arms. We've been to diners all over the state. Never met a manager who cared this much about. Garbage. Another biker chimed in. Maybe he's just that cheap. Laughter broke out among the customers, not cruel but triumphant. Carl's cheeks burned crimson. Mind your own business. We are, Mason said. She served us. We're paying customers. And we're telling you we want this food boxed and handed to her. Unless you want to lose more than your dignity tonight. Carl opened his mouth, shut it, opened it again. Finally, realizing he was outnumbered and outmatched, he stomped into the kitchen. When he returned, he shoved the receipt into Emily's hand. Fine, take it. Emily took the bag, fingers trembling, heart pounding. Thank you, she whispered to Mason. He shrugged. No kid should go hungry, and no mother should feel ashamed for trying, Red added. Emily swallowed hard. You don't understand. She hasn't eaten a real dinner in days. I've been trying. Her breath hitched. I feel like I'm failing her. You're here working, Mason said. That's not failure. That's love. She looked down, tears threatening to spill. Hey, Mason said softly. Where do you live? We'll give you a ride. Emily hesitated. It's not far. Just a few blocks. Mason nodded. Then we'll walk with you. Walk? He smiled faintly. Sometimes a kid needs to see that her mom isn't alone in the world. Emily stared at him, overwhelmed. Thank you, but I don't want to bother you. It's no bother, Red said. Dinner rush is over. We're just heading home. Another biker grinned. And besides, we haven't taken a good walk in a while. They followed her out of the diner. The night was cool, the street quiet except for the rumbling engines of parked motorcycles. Emily walked in the center while the bikers formed a loose circle around her, not threatening but protective. When they reached her building, Emily hesitated. My place is small, and it's kind of, you Don. Owe us an explanation, Mason said. She nodded and opened the door to the dimly lit apartment building. They climbed the stairs to the second floor. Emily unlocked her door quietly. Inside, Lily sat on the couch clutching her stuffed rabbit, half asleep. Mommy? She whispered, rubbing her eyes. You're home. Her gaze shifted. She gasped at the towering figures behind her mother. Emily knelt beside her. It's okay, sweetie. These people, they helped us. Hi, Lily, Mason said softly, crouching to her level. We brought you dinner. She looked at the bag in her mother's hands, heavy, full, overflowing with food, and her eyes widened like a child staring at treasure. For me? She breathed. For you, Emily said, choking back tears. Lily hugged her tightly. Thank you, Mommy. Emily kissed her hair, whispering, You don't know how much I love you. Red stepped forward. Hey, kiddo, you like pie? Lily nodded shyly. Well, Red grinned. There's 2 slices in there, all yours. Lily's face lit up. Mason looked around the tiny apartment, bare furniture, peeling wallpaper but spotless, clean, loved. He saw how hard Emily had been trying. He whispered to her, "You're doing better than you think." She wiped her eyes. "You have no idea how much this means to us." "We do," Mason said quietly, "more than you know." As Lily devoured her dinner, the bikers stepped outside to give Emily space. When they reached the sidewalk, Mason pulled out his phone. Red raised a brow. "You're really doing it?" He nodded. 20 minutes later, a black pickup truck rolled up the street. A tall woman with corporate posture stepped out, followed by a man in a neat button-down shirt carrying a clipboard. Emily peeked out the window, confused. She hurried outside. "Is something wrong?" Mason turned to her. "No, something's right." The woman stepped forward. "Miss Harper, my name is Dana. I manage the Regional Charity Center for Family Support Services." Emily blinked. I don't understand." Dana smiled. "We received a call from Mr. Mason here. He told us about your situation. We'd like to help. Tonight." Emily's breath caught. The man handed her the clipboard. "This is paperwork for emergency assistance, grocery support, rental stabilization, and childcare vouchers." Emily stared at the stack. "But I didn't apply for anything." "You don't have to," Dana said. "Someone advocated for you." Mason stepped closer. "You didn't deserve what happened in that diner. You needed someone to have your back." Emily's vision blurred. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to," Mason said. "Just take care of your daughter, that's all," Dana added gently. "We can deliver groceries tonight. Fresh produce, pantry staples, things that'll last weeks." "Weeks." Emily covered her mouth as tears spilled freely. For the first time in months, she felt something expand inside her chest. Hope. Real hope. And then something unexpected happened. Lily stepped outside, small feet pattering on the concrete, holding her half-eaten pie. She walked directly to Mason. "Mister," she said shyly. He knelt. "Yeah, sweetheart?" She held out the pie. "You can have the rest. Thank you for feeding me." Mason froze. Everyone did. This tiny, hungry child offering him her dessert. It broke him open in a way nothing else had. He swallowed hard. "No, baby. That's yours." She shook her head. "You need to eat, too." Emily wiped her eyes. But Lily just smiled. And Mason did too, softly, painfully. He handed it back gently. "You keep it, I promise I'm full." She nodded solemnly. "Okay." Then she threw her little arms around his neck. The bikers blinked in shock. Mason hugged her carefully, like she was something fragile and precious. When he let go, he looked at Emily. "That kid," he whispered, "is special." "I know," Emily said, voice trembling. The group stayed for a while as the truck unloaded food, bags of rice, jars of peanut butter, fruits, vegetables, cereal, milk, pasta, canned goods, enough to transform their empty kitchen into something warm and livable again. Neighbors peeked through cracked doors, whispering at the strange sight, a line of bikers helping unload groceries into a single mother's apartment. When everything was inside, Mason finally turned to leave. Emily grabbed his hand. "Please, let me repay you somehow." Mason shook his head. "You already did." She frowned. "How?" "That hug." He smiled faintly. "Haven't had one of those in years." She didn't know what to say. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I know what it's like to grow up hungry. I know what it's like to watch someone you love skip meals so you don't have to. So don't ever say you're failing your daughter." His eyes softened. "You're fighting for her. That's what a good mother does." Emily nodded, tears glistening. Mason reached into his pocket and handed her a small card. "If you ever need anything, food, a ride, someone to walk you home, call us." She looked at the card. "Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club, emergency line, 24/7. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered again. "You don't need to," he said. "Just live better than yesterday." The bikers revved their engines one by one, filling the quiet street with thunder. Lily pressed her hands to her ears but giggled. Emily lifted her daughter into her arms and waved. The bikers rode off into the night, their taillights fading like embers dying in the wind. Inside the apartment, Emily looked around at the stocked shelves, the warm food on the table, the soft glow of safety finally settling into her bones. For the first time in a long time, she wisped. Aired a prayer of gratitude she didn't even know she was capable of anymore. Her daughter, fed, safe, loved, fell asleep in her arms. And outside, though the engines were gone, the street still felt protected. Because kindness, once given, doesn't disappear. It lingers, like a promise, like a shield, like the echo of a biker's boots walking across a diner floor, leaving behind a silence so powerful. The whole room would remember it forever.